For well over a decade, the MCU has proven to be perhaps the biggest box office franchise in movie history. We have watched as characters skyrocket in popularity. We have seen interesting stories told with emotional payoffs. And we have witnessed moments that will be in the hearts and minds of superhero fans forever. However, as you may know, I like to analyze and predict things on this channel when it comes to these movies, and today, I'm gonna make another bold prediction. Now that the first MCU saga is officially done with and out of the way, today I want to try and predict how it's all gonna end. Today, I look to predict the epic conclusion of the MCU. Hey guys, my name is DJ, and I understand that it is very early to make a bold video like this. If you were going to ask someone back in 2008 what the movie Iron Man was going to lead to, I can guarantee you that nobody would be able to answer that question correctly. And I'm pretty sure nobody would be able to predict exactly how Iron Man was going to end up as a part of the Avengers, let alone how he was going to fight alongside them against an entire Thanos army. But I'm gonna try to do it. I'm gonna try and make my big prediction for the final MCU movie. And while it may feel obvious to some of you, I wholeheartedly believe that this idea makes quite a lot of logical sense. So without wasting any more time, here is my bold prediction. I believe that the MCU will conclude with the Avengers taking on another version of themselves. Now I know that that idea might seem really outlandish to you, but the more I think about it, the more I think that this makes a lot of sense for a multitude of reasons. For starters, as you all might have guessed, this prediction sort of began around the Loki series, in which the entire story is about going through the multiverse and the TVA. This whole series is basically showcasing the potential of not only alternate universes, but alternate versions of our beloved characters. We saw Loki interacting with other versions of himself, including a female Loki, a child Loki, and even an alligator Loki. And of course, with the What If animated series being entirely about alternate timelines, I think it's safe to say that Marvel are looking to crack the alternate dimension story wide open. Just from those two shows, we can already tell that the possibilities are truly endless. You can have crazy concepts like Peggy becoming a super soldier, Black Panther becoming Star-Lord, or even the Avengers becoming evil. Hell, this idea of characters fighting alternate versions of themselves is a concept hinted at the end of Loki by He Who Remains. When talking about the interaction between alternate timeline variants of himself, he says, "They shared technology and knowledge, using the best of their universes to improve the others. However, not every version of He Who Remains was so pure of heart. To some of them, new worlds meant only one thing: new lands to be conquered. The peace between realities erupted into an all-out war, each variant fighting to preserve their universe and annihilate the others." According to He Who Remains, there were timelines out there with versions of himself that seeked nothing but power. There are variants in different timelines that could perhaps be described as evil. There was already a war between these different versions of He Who Remains, so it's not impossible to say that this war couldn't continue with different versions of the Avengers. But we're still early on, and that evil Avengers concept is not necessarily something that we have to jump to just yet. While a massive multiverse war could be an interesting conclusion, there is still a lot of fun stuff that Marvel could do with this whole alternate universe stuff before even touching that concept. Which is exactly what Spider-Man No Way Home is sort of playing with right now, as the movie is introducing characters from, say, the Sam Raimi universe into the MCU with, for example, Alfred Molina as Doc Ock appearing in the film. And I believe that this is just the start of what could be a long time with Marvel just playing around with the multiverse. Alfred Molina's Doc Ock is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to really cool fan service moments. I mean, think about it. Marvel now has a ton of material they could work from before even going out of their way to introduce a new character to the audience. You want to see some X-Men in a movie? Okay, we'll just have Hugh Jackman pop in for a spell. What about a meeting between Mr. Fantastic and J. Jonah Jameson as J.K. Simmons makes sure that damn Miles Teller is on his tempo? Hell, speaking of the Fantastic Four, you could just have Chris Evans meet himself as the Human Torch interacts with Captain America. There's just so much stuff in there that Marvel could use to build out the entirety of Saga 2. Maybe even Saga 2 and Saga 3. Not to mention the fact that this is all absolutely possible now that Disney has purchased Fox. And all of this fun timeline stuff could potentially lead into the Avengers meeting a darker version of themselves. After Marvel has its fun playing around with Fox's toys like the X-Men and Fantastic Four, Marvel could finally go back to focus on its original MCU lineup, with the Avengers finding out that not every timeline is a good one. So we could see what is essentially the ultimate civil war on screen after a stint of fan service with the Avengers taking on the Avengers. Hell, these evil Avengers don't even need to be the same actors, and we could see some pretty interesting portrayals of these characters. Matt Damon could actually play Loki as opposed to being a one-off cameo in Thor Ragnarok. Hugh Dancy can reenact his unhinged role from Hannibal as Bruce Banner. You could even have Jason Momoa trying to out-sex god Chris Hemsworth as Thor. But like I said, none of that necessarily has to happen right at this moment, which is why it feels like it could be a massive event. Maybe even the MCU's last event. However, a few moments ago, I mentioned the Loki series and He Who Remains. And a lot of people have been looking at this guy that I mentioned earlier as the next big bad of the MCU, Kang the Conqueror. However, to be honest, I think Kang the Conqueror is more of a perfect introduction to this concept of a multiversal war than he is a final boss. Sure, he could also be a Thanos-level threat for Saga 2, but he feels like a massive first step to what will ultimately be this Avengers vs. Avengers concept. We had Thanos as the big boss of this universe, then we have Kang the Conqueror as the big boss of the next universe, and finally we have the evil Avengers as the big bad to conclude the MCU now that we have access to other universes. If the MCU is designed to build up these heroes, if it's designed to make these heroes even bigger names than they already are, then the idea of them battling themselves to conclude this multi-decade-long story might be the way to go. I mean, where do you even go from there? What exactly is bigger than a multiversal war between these massive heroes? The MCU has to come to an end eventually, so why not conclude it in the biggest war they can possibly muster? The whole war could literally last 3 whole movies with how many characters and how much material they have to play with. And I mean, what a way to conclude it! With these MCU characters literally and metaphorically beating themselves, proving to the world that no matter what, good will always triumph over evil. That you, dear listener, will be able to beat any demon that may come before you, even if that demon is you. Thank you all so much for watching this prediction video on the MCU. I know we are hopefully a long way away from the conclusion of the MCU, but I want to know what your thoughts are about this prediction in the comments below. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And until next time, have a good day. Bye-bye.